We're in the Techcrunch studio today with Kieran Harty, who's co-founder and CEO of Tintri. Kieran, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Semil.
So you have a very interesting story. Came over from Ireland, got your PhD at Stanford, joined a couple of companies, one of which happened to be VMware in its early days. Walk us through sort of what you sort of focus on in graduate school, in your PhD program, and then when what led you to VMware?
Sure. Yeah, so I was in David Sheridan's distributed systems group at Stanford, and so focused on operating systems and specifically on what were large memory systems at that time, which was gigabytes of memory. I spent a long amount of time, a large amount of coding, putting together a thesis, and then went out into the industrial world after that. So,
did you think at that point you were going to go into the industrial world or remain in academia?
I did actually, because I actually enjoyed building things, and I thought that in academia it was kind of pretty artificial. And so I think you can do more interesting things in industry now. I think even back 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you made that jump, you got your PhD and you moved out into the industry, what were some of the first initial roles you had?
So initially I started out coding, working extensively with customers. And then when I went to VMware, I was in a VP of engineering role. So I came in as a VP of engineering role. I knew some of the founders. Mendel Rosenblum, who was a professor at Stanford, was one of the founders of VMware. So that's kind of how I ended up being connected there. And it was a fun experience coming in. It was the earliest stage I'd come into a company. So
yeah, what was that like? Did you like the excitement, or was it
loved the
scary?
excitement. Yeah, it was sort of at the stage where the company, was 25 people. It was a little before product, and I think it was having an impact, in building the team, building the product. Things don't work out as you expect, right? So it's not exactly, the market doesn't turn out exactly as you expect. And it was just seeing that, we were at a period where it was the dot-com bust, and we expected to have market with service providers, which just completely, didn't happen.
So now, how long were you at VMware, and what would you say the focus of your roles were?
Yeah, so I was at VMware for 7 years, and so when I joined, I came in to manage an engineering team which was about 15 people, and then when I left, which was after an acquisition, took a couple of years after an acquisition, it was about probably close to 1,000 people managing that, and you spend most of your time pushing paper and dealing with people issues at that point. So the kind of the fun element has largely gone out of it, which was really drove me to do something that was more interesting.
Okay, so walk us through so VMware gets to this 1,000-person limit, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing less coding and more managerial things, and you sort of decide. So have you always thought that you were going to start a company when you came over from Ireland, or?
Yeah, I did. I'd actually was always my goal to do a company, and it was a question of feeling like it was the right time in terms of my experience, in terms of connections, and so on. And it was really one of the big reasons I went to VMware actually was to see what it was like at an early stage company, and where you are taking risk. So it was the driver for me was, after I left there, I said, I want to do something big, and I want to do something where I'm, that I know something about, where I'm able to contribute into something that was going to have big impact, and that was kind of what drove me to do the company.
So walk us through, you leave VMware. This is where I think it gets really interesting, right? You leave VMware, and what do you do to go start this company? Yeah,
so after leaving VMware, I literally, I went down to my basement and my basement office and sat there literally every day for probably was 6 to 8 months, looking at ideas, doing some investigations on technology and so on. and periodically talking to people that I trusted, that I could try ideas out on. And then eventually, and it was a frustrating process, I would say initially, it's sort of forcing yourself to go down and focus. I came up with an idea, sort of a technology change that was occurring, particularly around the use of flash memory becoming feasible. That literally, I would say that the light kind of went on, and I tried the idea out then on some other people, and you could see that resonated just much more strongly than anything else that I'd actually talked about.
And when you say
before.
When it resonated, it means that you would talk about this idea around
Yeah.
flash storage?
Yeah, you talk about it with people you trust, right? You need to be careful because what tends to happen, people come up with the same good ideas at the same time. So you want to talk to people whose judgment you trust and that you actually know them personally and so on. So it was a question of just saying, does this make sense? And then I linked up with a VC, actually a couple of VCs I talked to, and then one I ended up doing an EIR at NEA.
Right. And so now you co-founded the company Tintri.
Yep.
Right. So walk us through that sort of company formation stage, right? So I don't think a lot of people most of the people watching this maybe not understand on the enterprise IT side when you're building, trying to build a deep technology company, that you actually have to go into hiding for months. You have to build product, probably year, 2 years, maybe longer, right?
Yeah.
Walk us through that process and sort of who your co-founder is, how you found him.
Yeah, sure. So the interesting process here is that it does, in the area that we're in, it takes 2.5 years typically to get to market. It also takes quite a lot of capital, right? So you can't just bootstrap it and then can go from that. So you need a fair number of people to actually build these products. So for me, the critical element was, the first thing was linking up with my co-founder, Mark Ritter, who was actually had the same thesis advisor at Stanford as I did, was a few years later, and so I got connected with him through a friend. We met outside, I remember, on the Sun campus in Menlo Park, and connected, and so it was something that I felt like he was going to be a very good complement to what I did, and that we just got on well together. So that was a really critical thing. It was helpful as an EIR to try things out on customers, on potential customers, and also on the VCs themselves. Get some idea in terms of what they care about in looking at companies. As you said, the challenging thing is you can't talk to everybody about what you're doing.
Sure.
So you need to be sort of cautiously talking about people, talking to people, getting them to sign NDAs, which who knows if they actually honor them or not. But so it's a balance between telling people and just being very careful to reveal exactly what you're doing. And the challenge is you need to do that for 2.5 years.
Yeah, and so walk us through too, like what is it about what you were building with Tintri that made the go-to-market so long?
So so what we're doing is we're doing infrastructure, and essentially we're building a file system. So if you view it, if you consider the complexity that's involved in building a file system as part of Linux or as part of another operating system, it's a big task. The thing has to work. There's a hardware element as well to what we're doing, so there's reliability, there's performance. You can't just get something out quickly and then have people try it out and see if it works. You actually have to have gone through a lot of reliability testing and so on. Because if it doesn't store your data, it's not a viable product at all. So that's what tends to take the time.
Right. And walk us through some of that period of time when it's just you and Mark, or you and Mark and a few other people. What is that like when you're not communicating a lot with the outside world and you're not getting feedback, or the shipping cycle is really, really long, right? What's it like as a founder? Because it seems like it would require an insane amount of patience.
Yeah, it does. I think it does. I think but you have to be very optimistic. I mean, you have to be, and you have to spend all of your time, I think, getting people on board. So I do remember that I spent, probably at least 60-70% of my time on recruiting, and it was finding the right people. But unfortunately, you'll find that there's only a set of people that are really prepared to take the risk at a very early stage company. So that was one of the things that's kind of frustrating, which is, there are these great people out there, you'd really like to have them on board, but it's really a personality thing as to whether somebody is ready for an early stage startup.
Sure.
So that's kind of the balance, and it was really filtering down, was this person really an early stage startup person? And finding that out early, and not kind of dragging things out, for weeks or months, hoping that this person would actually join.
Got it.
Yeah.
And now, once you came out of stealth and started booking customers, and you've gone successfully now to market, can you tell us a little bit just about the company Tintri,
Sure.
what you're offering, sort of who your customers are,
Sure.
and sort of some of the challenges you face as well?
Yeah.
Sort of
Sure.
where you are right now?
Yeah, so we came to market last year, and we have in that time, we're targeting enterprise customers, so it's large companies and medium-sized companies, ranging from large animation studios to big Fortune 500 companies, as well as law firms and doctors and hospitals and so on. And so we have over 150 customers at this stage, which is actually very strong in this kind of market. The challenges that you really face are, you have to get the message out. You have to get those initial customers. Those first 10 customers are a challenge, and they're really taking a substantial risk. Once you have your first 10 and they're happy, and our customers were very happy, then it becomes easier. But you have salespeople, and they are, that injects a new element into the company.
And what about the market for storage overall? It seems like it's very competitive with different storage options. There's a lot of very smart entrepreneurs in and around the Valley working on different types of solutions. I'm sure different technologies are involved. How do you navigate that as a founder today, let's say?
Sure. So the market itself is very competitive. So it's about a $20 billion market, very lucrative market, dominated by large players. But there is a level of technology change that's happening there. That's why startups are actually entering this market. You essentially need to have a differentiated story, right? And so what you have to have something different. It's a very noisy market.
Can you talk to us a little bit and explain the technology differentiation?
Sure.
And sort of that idea you had when you were...
Yeah. So essentially the fundamental of what we do is, and in Capsule is, we're storage that is only for virtual environments. So the trend, these are things that would be used as part of private clouds. So there's been a trend where previously system servers ran on physical machines. And now there's this huge movement to running on virtual machines. You'll get Amazon EC2 uses virtualization. There are other, eBay uses virtualization. Large number of websites do as well. And all of those systems need storage. Storage has kind of been in the dark ages. And then you have this huge technology change, especially from flash memory that's coming in that allows you to change it. We're taking advantage of that. And in coming up against the incumbents, we're not trying to play their own game. We're essentially trying to say, rather than being a super general purpose solution, we will be something that's special purpose. You could view it as a niche, but it's an $11 billion niche, right? So it's a big percentage of the overall storage market.
So your bet in the market is that as more and more companies virtualize their storage, they're going to look at a few options.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And so our fundamental is that by being focused, And by doing something that is a different way from the way the things were built 10 years ago, 15 years ago, with a new hardware technology, you can be very differentiated in the market. And we've absolutely seen that, where customers are rushing to adopt this technology.
And then the final question would be can you talk a little bit about the pairing of the hardware you've created with the software?
Sure.
And the challenges around that?
Yeah, sure. So I'd actually never done hardware before. So I was a software guy. And we're not, the model that we use is an appliance model. So we're bundling hardware and software together.
Sure.
And so we're not building any special purpose hardware, but that's the way that people like to buy storage in the market that we're in. It's easier to buy something that's a piece of hardware that has the software bundle into it. What we didn't know going in, I think, was that how these flash devices, these solid-state drives, it's a new technology. It's a great technology, but you actually have to learn quite a lot about its performance characteristics. And that's both good and bad. It took us a little while to do that. But when we got it right, I think we have something, again, that's very differentiated from what else is in the market.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Kieran, congratulations on all the hard work and success, and we'll be watching.
Super. Thanks very much, Semil.
Thanks.
Thank you.